All right. So this is recording. So this is about how do I sit down? How does this work? How can I put my behind on this chair? So with my clients, I start like this. I bring them to exactly this door. I have them stand in front of the door and ask them to squat down without hitting their nose, of course, against the door. So they can either use the hands or they can put the hands here. And then think of the sit bones. Think of the sit bones. Sit bones go back and down. Not just down, but back and down. Sit bones go back. And then when you come up, squeeze the buttocks, the biggest muscle in the body. This is the main function. And this is leg work. The upper body should remain almost the same. Upper body doesn't move. It's just work in the legs. And you go bring the behind back, and then come back down again. In the beginning, maybe it's just a small movement like this. Tiny movement. And squeeze the big butt muscles. They're made for hip extension. It's the main function is hip extension. Main function. Keep your knees fairly spread apart. If you have them too small, too narrow, your back will round when you come down. You don't want the back round. You don't want to load the back when it's flexed. Back should stay in neutral position. So have your feet fairly apart. And think of your sit bones. Go back and then bring them forwards. And use the butt muscles. If you do this on the back, think of an exercise like this, where you squeeze the butt muscles to lift your pelvis. You use the butt muscles to lift the pelvis. You use the butt muscles to lift the pelvis. Always the butt muscles. It's the main function of the butt muscles is hip extension. Same with the chair. So here's a stool. I bring the sit bones backwards, squat down, and then I get my upper body straight. Forwards, forwards. There's a seesaw movement here. And in this way, my ass comes up and my head goes down. Or my ass doesn't come up when it doesn't work. This is the quadriceps. And one of the heads of the quadriceps, it originates at the ilium, and then the other on the knee. And this muscle can also extend the hip a bit. But the main function of this thing here, this big muscle, is to extend the knee. This muscle is to extend the knee. This muscle is to extend the hip. This is all leg work, nothing happening here. Here inside we have the hip joint is a ball joint. All the rotation happens in the hip. Happens all in the hip. And then spread the floor with the feet. Spread the floor. Like you're going, push it with both feet. But the feet stay planted on the floor. You go forward and then you lift this part. You lift this part. You can think of your sit bones. Go up. And then extend the hip with your big butt muscles. This is like a Brazilian butt lift workout. Squats. And then stool to the rescue. Can extend my belly. If you do things like this, it's exactly the same thing, just with the rotation. And the rotation comes from the hip. It's not the rotation of the upper body, it's rotation of the hip, mainly initiated from your hip, from the feet pushing against the floor, rotation. And come down, see? The belly goes back, not the belly, the ass goes backwards. And the pubic bone comes forwards. Sitting bone, go back. Pubic bone comes forwards. Like this, like this, like this. You can do this without How does this work? Go down, go up. It's all leg work. Leg work. Squats. That's how sitting works. If I was a medical doctor, I would prescribe squats to my clients. But first you have to teach them. You have to show them how to do it. Without bending here. Flexion. Flexion and loading is an injury mechanism. Flexion, loading and rotation, injury mechanism. This will cause back pain. Keep the upper body neutral. And then just engage. Gluteus maximus. Come up. And disengage until sit. Engage. Come up. Disengage. Ooh. Sitting. Sitting. Oh.